Hi, so this is Tim Yoder at Fit Small Business. Today I'm going to go through Chapter 1 of our evaluation rubric for Wave Accounting. So here I'm at the dashboard of a company I already have in Wave, so we want to set up a new company. Nice thing about Wave here, I can actually do this without entering a new email address. You can have unlimited businesses. Okay, so company name, Fit HVAC and Plumbing. Type of business. So with HVAC and plumbing, we're doing both a product and services. We'll go with primarily a service. We'll go repairs and maintenance. Okay. Um, Good. Type of organization. Um, we're an S corporation. It doesn't specify that, so we just say corporation. So I think that should work just fine. Okay, so let's go into our new company. Okay, we can enter the address here, 100 First Street, New York, United States, New York 10001. Gives us a place for a phone number. Okay, now it doesn't give us a place here for my email address, but I would have already entered my email address in when I set up the company. All right, so when I set up my login for Wave, so I think that that's okay. Business currency, we're going to stay with the U.S. dollar. Okay, so personal information. Okay, I don't see any reason to put that in there. Here we can manage our password, it looks like. Emails. Okay, here we go. And so here's where we can specify email. Okay, good. So I think this is where we can add a new user, which is one of the things we need to do for our company. So we want to add a Jane Doe to add more email addresses, set a password for your account. Okay, I guess here maybe is where we add a user. Okay, and now our instructions tell us we want them limited to paying bills, so that's the accounts payable person. Full access to accounting, bank connections. Okay, so we don't have the option here for exactly accounts payable, but we can at least restrict Jane to editing it and not give her all the admin rights. We'll call her an accountant, and we're going to say she's an editor. Okay, here we can, so this is saying she can't send invoices, which was fine because all we want her to do is is to be able to do the accounts payable. Manage payroll is off. Oh, good. And here we get some more editor permissions. Oh, but you know what? We can't edit these. Well, okay. Okay, so this is as good as we can do. So I'm going to have to mark this one down that it's not available. So we can restrict her just a little bit by being an editor. She won't be able to send invoices. She won't be able to manage payroll, but she can do everything else. So that's not very good user restrictions. So we're going to go ahead and invite her, but we weren't able to successfully restrict her rights, and so we're going to have to give a 0 for restricting the rights of an additional user. Okay, so what else do we need to do here? So we've put in the name, we've put in the address, telephone number, entity type. It said corporation versus S corporation. That really shouldn't have any effect on bookkeeping, so I'm going to give it full scores for that. Our fiscal year of December. Here we go. So accounting, dates and currency maybe. Fiscal year end, December 31st. Business currency, US dollar. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, that wasn't, it'd been nice if that would have been up there with our general business information, but that wasn't too hard to find, so I'll go ahead and I'll give it full points for that, for recording the entity, for the recording the fiscal year end. Okay, so now we have 2 classes to track and 2 locations to track. And I don't believe Wave has any way of doing this. So sales taxes, we can create sales taxes, payments, users. Let's check in our accounting. Yeah, no, this classes should be in settings. And let's see. So, yeah, I do not believe Wave has any type of classes or location tracking. So we can't create our 2 separate classes, nor can we track by our 2 separate locations. So I'm going to have to give it zeros for that. Okay. So we're going to start using this in 2021. We need to input our beginning balances December 31st of 2020. So let's go to our accounting. First, let's deal with our trial balance, or I'm sorry, with our chart of accounts. So let's go into accounting, chart of accounts. Good, that's straightforward. And let's add some account information. So we have a cash on hand account. We would like to use account numbers if we can. Here we go. Account ID, I'm guessing, is an account number. So cash on hand is the title we want. Good. Save. Okay, here we go. And then it shows the account number. Great. So now we want a checking account. So let's add an account. Account name. Checking account. Account ID 110. I don't care for a description. A savings account of 120. I'm sorry, savings account with a account number 120. Expected payments from customers, accounts receivable. Excellent. Can I edit that? I can't. So I can't give, apparently, I can't give a, I don't like that. I can't give an account number to the accounts receivable. Okay, so we're just going to leave that without a number, I guess. I don't want to create a new accounts receivable because that could add some complications when we start to bill. Okay, so inventory. Let's add a new inventory account. I'm just going to keep the name very simple. Inventory. Account ID 140. Property, plant, and equipment. Account name equipment. Account number 150. We also need to add a vehicle account. That was 160. Okay. And then an accumulated depreciation. Okay, so they call this depreciation and amortization. But given where they're presenting it here, I'm thinking this is not the expense, this is the contra asset account, the accumulated depreciation account. Okay, use this to track the decrease in value of the things you own. Okay, so that is a horrible definition of depreciation and amortization, but this is the accumulated depreciation and amortization. So I'm going to add an account. Account name, accumulated depreciation, 190. Okay. We have an accounts payable. Okay, we have prepaid. We don't want that. Asset short term. We don't want that. Other long-term asset. Okay, so that's all of our asset accounts. Go over to our liability accounts. Expected payments to vendors is our accounts payable, and again, there's no way they put in an account number, but that's okay. Credit card payable. Account ID 210. Save. Loan payable. Common stock is an equity account. Kind of weird they list equity after income and expenses, but that's okay. Common shares. Okay, now here we can actually edit this one, so I'm guessing we can add an account number. And that's 300, and instead of common shares, I'm going to call it common stock. Okay, so they give us the ability to do it, and then they won't allow us to do it. So that's kind of a waste of time, isn't it? Okay, so let's cancel this. Okay, so we'll just go with this common shares account that they give us, even though we can't give it an account number. Now, in addition to that, we need an additional paid in capital account. Okay, and we need a retained earnings account, and that's generally a system account, and so we'll just allow that to stay. Let's try this again. So see if they allow us to give an account number. Okay, so it did allow us to change the account number on retained earnings, so I bet it'll do the same for common shares as long as we don't actually change the name of it. So the account number for common shares was 300. Okay, nice. Let's go back to assets and yeah, here, but accounts receivable, there is no option to change it. Same with accounts payable. Okay, good. So that wasn't too bad to set up the chart of accounts. So let me kind of evaluate that in the rubric here. So to kind of catch up, so I'm going to give it full scores for inputting company name and address, telephone number, email. That was all pretty straightforward. So it was entity type. Classes and locations did not allow us to do, so those are 0 scores for that. Modifying the chart of accounts. Tell you what, I'm going to give them a 1. That was pretty good, even though they don't allow you to have those account numbers for those system generated accounts payable, accounts receivable. We'll still give it full scores. Okay. Now what we need to do is and we're also able to add an additional user without a problem, so it gets full scores for that. Okay, now we need to figure out how are we going to input our beginning balances. Is there an easy way to do it, or do we have to now, because other software like QuickBooks will actually allow you to put a beginning balance when you set up the chart of accounts, but this one is not allowing us to do that. There's nothing here to click on, and then again, this edit button doesn't give us any balances. So I think we're going to have to do this a little bit more difficult way, which is not horrible. Yeah, I don't see anything that's going to allow us to automatically set up these beginning balances. So let's do this. We're going to go to transactions, and we're just going to enter a big journal entry for the whole amount. Let's add a manual transaction. Okay, so let's add a journal transaction, and we're going to date it. These beginning balances are from the end of last year, so we're going to date it on 2020. Oh, why didn't that work? We're going to just call it beginning balances. Description, I'm just going to go BB for beginning balance, our account. And this is why I like to have account numbers. We should be able to very easily pull it up. No, you can't. Okay, well that's very inconvenient. So you cannot search for accounts by account number, so really your account numbers are totally useless. But we can choose cash on hand, $1,000. Okay, nice. It adds a new line right as you need it. Then we can go beginning balance, checking, 10,000. Okay, well now it didn't add us a new line automatically. We're going to have to tap the add line. Beginning balance, savings, 150,000. Equipment, $75,000. Beginning balance, vehicle of 60,000. Beginning balance accumulated depreciation of 115,000. No accounts payable. Credit card payable of 6,000. Common stock, which I think we had to call common shares, of 1,000. Additional paid in capital, and retained earnings. Oh, you know what? Look at this. I thought I could enter them in one column. I've been entering my credits in the debit column. Okay, so I'm not going to hold this against the software. This was probably my mistake. Okay, there we go. And it does give us our total debits, total credits, shows us everything is in balance. So that's pretty nice. Okay, so that's our beginning balances journal entry. Let's save it. Okay, so let's just run to reports here and make sure our beginning balances appear to be correct. Let's look at a balance sheet as of 2020. Okay, and there we go. Balance sheet seems to be in balance. Well, no, that's this balance sheet doesn't show liabilities plus equity equaling 181,000. You have to add those together in your head. That's a really weird balance sheet. That is not good. But we'll address reporting in another part of the rubric. Yeah, same thing even with the detail. That is really weird that the balance sheet does not end with total liabilities plus equity. I have never seen anything quite so weird. um, but okay, good. So for scoring this, so inputting the balances, I'm going to give it a half a point instead of the full point. Uh, having to do it in a journal entry is not very convenient at all instead of having some way to just input beginning balances. Okay. Um, so for some additional features that may have been that we can kind of look for that we won't necessarily use, can you import a chart of accounts? And can you import beginning balances? And I don't see any way to do either of those things in this software. So we're going to have to give it 0 for both of those. So let's again look through settings. Okay. Yep. So it looks like there are ways to export data, but I don't see, yeah, I don't see any way to import information. Okay, so no importing of chart of accounts, no importing of beginning balances. Now, the last thing we need to do for the case study here is to close the books prior to 2021. And this is something that's really, really nice because it's very easy, especially in January and February of 2021, to accidentally type 2020. And then you record that without knowing it, and it really can mess up your books. So it's very nice to be able to close the prior records. I would think that it would probably be right here, dates and currency with a close date, but it does not appear to be so. Okay. Um, Good. Okay. Another advanced feature let's talk about is the currency. And it does appear that you can set your company up with whatever currency you want. And so we will give it a point for that. Okay, so I think that concludes the case study for Wave in order to complete the rubric.